Hi, y'all. Jennifer Ledet here. Well, since pivoting, adapting, rebuilding, and reimagining have been constant these past few months, I wanted to bring you some leadership inspiration and insights by taking the pulse of some really smart, savvy, and sometimes sassy women leaders. In this series, you'll hear what they're doing and maybe even pick up some lessons and tips on what you can do and how you can excel in this wild new world of work. Stay tuned. Today, I'm happy to have with me Renee Guckenburg, who is an HR manager, and in normal times, or BC, before Corona, she is located at a large manufacturing complex with a large energy company. So Renee, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
To have you.
Yeah.
And you were top of my list as I thought about smart, savvy, sassy women leaders, and wanted to kind of get a feel for where you are in all of this. So just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit, tell us about your role and say maybe one thing that you really like about your role.
So thanks for having me, by the way. I'm an HR manager at like you said, a large manufacturing complex. And what that means I do is I work a lot with the leaders at the site, and on a good day, I'm helping them solve their people problems. And sometimes those seem incredibly hard. And so I get a kick out of finding a way with them through whatever maze they're trying to navigate.
Yeah, and right now, you got your hands full, I know. So where is your organization as far as, reopening? Are you staying at home for the near future? Or are you going back full time? Where are you in that spectrum?
Yeah. So we're a 24/7 operation. So there's a good portion of our workforce that never stopped working and has been on site per usual. I personally, and most of the people in support roles like mine, we almost from the beginning stayed home. So we've been working from home. That's the way I am.
Yeah. Okay, you froze.
Group of people back to the site that had been staying home for, say, the last 3 months.
Okay, Renee, we're going to edit because we need to go back. You froze.
Okay.
You said I've been working from home.
And then it then stopped.
Then
okay.
it stopped.
Okay. Okay. So do you want me to just to start over on that part, or you want to start?
Let me ask the question all over again. How's that?
Okay.
Is that okay? That way it'll be a clean way to edit.
Sure. Yeah.
And I pray my VA can edit. So where are you? Is your organization at this point looking to continue the stay at home, remote working, virtual working? Are you full, going back to work full speed ahead? Or where are you in that spectrum?
Yeah. So since it's a 24/7 operation, a good portion of our workforce never stopped working. They've been going to site for these last. But people like me have been working from home that whole time. So where we're at is we are looking at trying to start letting some medium essential, if you will, of people return to site per usual. And we're looking at doing that in the next couple of weeks. But I think that I personally am going to be on the tail end of the return to site. So we're looking at doing it in phases, and I'm going to be in phase 3, which is the last phase.
Gotcha. So I know that many of us, and I'm not as much interested, no offense, in the organizations, what's going on with them as I am you as a leader personally and professionally. During the stay-at-home time, we've had the opportunity to kind of reassess our work, although we didn't necessarily choose this opportunity to reassess, but really reassess our work and our lives. What, if anything, have you learned about yourself and how you work and lead because of this or through this experience of the pandemic and staying at home?
Yep. Yeah, so not a huge surprise as an HR manager. I'm a people person, but I mean that literally. I get my energy from other people. So this is like, putting me in jail to say, sit behind this computer all day long. And yeah, I have video every once in a while, but for the most part, talking on the phone all day is not my cup of tea. So I've learned even more that I am a people person, if there was ever any doubt. I've learned that I have spent my career compartmentalizing, and I know everybody probably does that, but I think I must do it to an extreme. So meaning when I'm at work, I'm kind of focused at work and get out of my way because I'm working. And then when I get home, I'm at home. And not having that separation has been challenging. So everything sort of has blended together. So the challenge is I think when I returned to site is sort of like decoupling everything. Everything's kind of grown together like bushes. And now I've got to figure out how to separate everything again. The other thing I've learned is that I lead best in person. Like I relied on seeing people to do the good things that good leaders do. And so I've had to be much more intentional about calling people and giving them feedback, offering observations, and that just takes more thought. I was doing it kind of rotely, I guess, because I could, and now I've had to be much more intentional since we're all remote.
Yeah, interesting. So if any, ways of working that you've adopted during quarantine or during stay at home might you want to pull forward into the return to work?
So that last one that I said, I need to. So I've got to be much more conscious of providing feedback and spending the time thinking about it and then doing it versus letting it just sort of happen. Because what's come to light is not doing enough of it, right? I'm just letting it happen organically. Here's a big one. It's asking people the simple question, how are you doing? And then listening for what really is happening and what's really going on, the words behind the words and the sentiment behind the words. So I'm doing a lot of that on the phone, of course, now, but I've got to keep that in my repertoire going forward when I get back to site.
That's a good one. We in South Louisiana, our famous saying is, how's your mama and them? And that's never been more, I think, appropriate now than, we asking about the whole person is really important, I think. So that's a good point that you bring up.
There's other stuff too, like just on the personal front. I don't know. I've had other colleagues tell me that they're feeling like they have more balance. So I kind of I don't know, whatever time, 5:30, 6 o'clock, I stand up from my breakfast table and I walk right into the kitchen and I start making dinner. I wasn't cooking at all at home during the week, that is. So I'd like to keep some of those balance things. I'm reading again. I got out my sewing machine and I sewed masks. So I had learned to sew when I was a teenager. So I'd like to keep some of those kind of personal habits and personal things, walking with my husband, spending more time with my husband. I'd like to keep some of those as well, kind of on the personal front, even when I start commuting back to work.
I love that. And I think you're right. A lot of the people that I'm talking to are saying the same thing. Those are the kinds of things they want to continue and integrate into their quote unquote next normal, whatever that's going to be like. Because that's been a plus or positive that's come out of all of this. That's cool. So what do you think the biggest challenge or concern or adjustment is going to be? What do you anticipate for you as a leader of your team, and for you personally?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see being?
So I think in the immediate term or the very near term for us, we're going to live through, I don't even know how many months of, some of us are going to be at home and some of us are going to be back at site. And, you know, it's kind of worked well when everybody is in the same boat. Everybody's got to get on the phone to do business.
Right.
And when the tables turn and, you know, I'm going to be on what I view as the short end of the stick, I'm going to be still staying at home, yet life is going on almost as usual, or that's what it's going to seem.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. Wait, lost you. Lost your audio. I still see you. Your video's working this time. Okay, now you're back. You're back.
Okay. I'm sure it's just my internet. That's okay. We can do that question again.
Yeah. So what do you see as your, maybe the biggest challenge or concern that you have as you return to work as a leader of your team, and even for you personally? What do you see as the biggest challenge going into the next normal?
Yeah, so I think in the immediate term, the challenge for me is going to be the fact that I'm going to be in that third phase of returning back to the site, whereas there are a lot of people that are going to be there at the work site already working, kind of returning to normal, if you will. And so it's going to be hard being one of the ones left behind, you know, bringing up the rear. So being sure that I feel included and that I am being inclusive through that period, that's going to be challenging. The other one that I thought of is I think I'm anticipating among our workforce more requests to work from home on a more permanent basis or a more frequent basis. That has not been, I mean, it's been available, but sort of available, not very popular, kind of for that first reason I just mentioned, right? I think people generally feel like, well, if I'm out of sight, I'm out of mind. And so I think that's going to be a struggle for our leaders at the site to really kind of put in their head that people can be as productive at home for certain types of work as they have been at the site all these years. So I think that'll be a challenge, kind of navigating through who gets to do it, who doesn't, why do we say yes to some and not to others. That'll be something that's going to be top on the list of helping my leaders through. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then what about for you personally? What do you think is going to be the bigger challenge? The first thing that comes to mind is the commute. So I live in a large metropolitan area and the commute is not for the faint of heart. So getting back on the road, I have to say, I'm not looking forward to that. I've enjoyed that part of staying home, is not having that. And that's legit. I mean, that's a lot of minutes that add up to hours in a week. For sure. Absolutely. Others are, I mentioned before, but taking apart the blending that's happened, kind of decoupling those a little bit. I don't want to do that completely because there's been some good that's come of it. But yeah, I'm going to have to separate some of that. That'll be a challenge. And they honestly, when the school year starts again, I've still got kids in school. So it's kind of been nice in the spring. I mean, literally it was so simple. It was work. It was being sure they were on their school calls and no after school activities. So kind of that merry-go-round gets started again. And that's going to be challenging for me personally again. Yeah. Yeah. And you're not alone. I hear that from a lot of different people. What's going to be interesting to see is how many people and how organizations are going to handle the request to work from home that may be founded in or based on the fact that they're literally cautious about their own health.
uh,
Mhm.
clients of mine that take the metro and the subway to work every day are not anxious and eager to get back on mass transit at all.
Yep.
So it's going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, it really will be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to keep tabs on you. And I really, really appreciate you've offered some great insights and ideas. And I think a lot of people relate to where you're coming from. I'm now going to ask you a question. How are you reimagining what's next? Pop a response below so we can continue the conversation. Be sure to hit subscribe so you can get more inspiration and insights from these smart, savvy, and sometimes sassy women leaders.